Whenever you're running a presidential campaign and it comes time to pick your vice presidential running mate, there are two options that are acceptable. You pick someone who's kind of neutral but could be a good vice president. Obviously, regardless, you want an effective vice president. But maybe doesn't move the needle, but at least doesn't work against you. Or someone who helps your political prospects. And then someone you think could be, like I said, an effective person in the room as a close advisor, and if they ever had to become president. The thing you don't want in picking your vice president is someone who will cause extra scandals for you or hurt your political prospects. Trump has enough going against him. He shouldn't be picking someone. Strategically, I'm happy he did because it's going to hurt him, but who hurts his candidacy. And that's what's happening with JD Vance, who's now Trump's running mate. And it's getting so bad that reportedly there's some regret behind the scenes in the Trump campaign about selecting JD Vance as the running mate. And the clip I'm about to play for you has been circulating for some time now, but there's a few different, if you've already seen this, stages to this story. We're going to talk about the initial clip, then Pete Buttigieg's reaction to it, very nicely responds. A Fox host so concerned about the type of stuff she's seeing from the Trump campaign, the type of attacks against Kamala Harris, things like what you're going to hear from JD Vance, and she's begging the Trump campaign to figure their stuff out because they're losing voters by the second, and JD Vance's approval rating shows that. And then also Meghan McCain saying she's hearing from conservatives who are running away from the Republican Party because of rhetoric like this.
But look, what I was basically saying is that we're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. And it's just a basic fact. You look at Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children. And how does it make any sense that we've turned our country over to people who don't really have a direct stake in it? I just wanted to ask that question.
It's very strange because 2 out of the 3 people he listed there, not to mention all the Democrats he didn't list, do have children. And then also this gets to, even if he were correct about his characterization of the people he listed, just in terms of them not having children, I mean, not the childless cat ladies part. But it gets to this broken part of the MAGA ideology that says to be pro something, you have to be anti something. To be for something, that means you have to oppose its opposite, which is not always the case. As an example, we talked about this MAGA influencer who posted, it was so weird. I think about it rather often because of how weird it was. He posted his engagement photo, right? Getting engaged to his beautiful girlfriend, becoming his fiance, eventually his wife. Wonderful. I think his political views, disgusting. I think his love, great. I want you to find love, sir, even with your terrible political views. But what did he attach to the photo? A little caption that said, Pride Month has been defeated, because he proposed to her during Pride Month. Somehow thinking that us celebrating and being pro-homosexual marriages means we're not pro-heterosexual marriages, which again, they need to understand the world, an out-group. Their promotion of something has to be running against something else instead of our values, which says families of all kinds we celebrate and want to help. And I'm super excited for him falling in love, starting a family, whatever he plans to do. Hooray. But why you need, like JD Vance here, an out group and that to be at the detriment of other people with other lifestyles, I will never understand. Especially given that for a lot of people, the decision to not have children is a very sensitive and very emotional one, as Pete Buttigieg will mention here.
AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children. And how does it make any sense that we've turned our country over to people who don't really have a direct stake in it?
Now, I should note you have 2 children. They were born before he gave that answer. Harris is also a stepmom to children as well. But what's your response to that?
It's You know, the really sad thing is he said that after Chasten and I had been through a fairly heartbreaking setback in our adoption journey. He couldn't have known that, but maybe that's why you shouldn't be talking about other people's children. And it's not about his kids or my kids or the vice president's family. It's about your family, people's families whose well-being will depend on whether we go into a future led by somebody like Kamala Harris, who is focused on expanding the prosperity, the freedom, the well-being of our families. And by the way, especially if you have...
And that's exactly it. You cannot make a case. You can't. You can't. A policy case for the Republican Party being the pro-family party. Their rhetoric may indicate that. He wants the rhetoric to indicate that, alienating people who haven't started families as a way of proving that he has pro-family values, as he's supporting Trump. But if you look at the policy record, undeniably, the Democratic Party, time and time again, if we are talking about uplifting families, implements policies. Biden's record shows this. Kamala Harris's record shows this. Democrats in Congress implementing policies that uplift and promote and support families in the country. So with that being said, it doesn't seem this sort of stuff from JD Vance is helping him at all. And before we get to the reaction of even MAGA being uncomfortable with this, because it is a part of a broader context and background of attacks against Kamala Harris that are just landing completely flat, now resorting to childless cat lady. Here is the news on his approval rating.
Understand the pick, and apparently neither do the American voters, because we take a look at the net favorable rating for JD Vance. That's a favorable minus unfavorable. It's in negative net territory. Look at that, -6 points. I will tell you, Aaron, I have gone all the way back since 1980. He is the first guy after immediately following a convention, a VP pick, who actually had a net negative favorable rating. That is underwater. The average since 2000 is plus 19 points. JD Vance making history in the completely wrong way.
So he may be the most unpopular running mate ever, and that is hilarious and brutal for Trump's campaign. Now, the types of attacks we're hearing, like that one, and like the insane sexualized comment that was made on Fox News recently, just ugh. And many of the other attacks we're hearing against Kamala Harris, it's doing the opposite thing than what they wanted to do. They want to attack her, obviously, to hurt her politically, but it's doing the opposite. Meghan McCain, of course a conservative, writes, I have been trying to warn every conservative man I know. These JD comments are activating women across all sides, including my most conservative Trump-supporting friends. These comments have caused real pain and are just innately unchristian. This is not who we are. And there's a long line of other comments from JD Vance that reflects this. Needing to demonstrate what he believes to be a pro-family stance by disparaging and spitting on people who, for whatever reason, didn't have that as a part of their journey. Then Tommy Lauren is saying, guys, we gotta get our stuff together. We're really failing at going after Kamala Harris.
Now they've got about 100 days of a honeymoon period that might very well last 50 to 60 days, where people are still going to be just excited that they have Kamala Harris. They're not going to dig into her record. They're not going to be bothered by her record because they're going to be so excited for probably the next 50 days. Well, we've only got about 100 until a general election and even fewer to early voting. Yeah. So don't get too comfortable on the Trump side. And I'm sure we're going to talk about this later, but the attacks on her personally, on whatever her past personally may have been, or calling her a childless lady, none of those are going to work, and they're going to make women second guess their support for what they may have felt for Donald Trump. Bad move.
Ooh, there are a lot of strong points in that for Republicans. I mean, depending on how much you love Donald Trump and do or don't like his VP pick, some of that was for JD Vance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's for don't
everyone.
call women dumb. It just doesn't work. On Republican women or liberal women, it just doesn't work. There are much better ways to attack Kamala.
I was having this thought. I didn't want to say it. Not that a bunch of MAGA people who are in the orbit of the Trump campaign and could impact his messaging are listening to the show, but I feel weird explaining what a better strategy would be, because there's a better strategy in running against Kamala Harris. There are things you could attack her on that, given the willingness of MAGA to be dishonest, they'd probably bend the truth while doing so, and would unfortunately be more effective at disparaging her than this nonsense. Than, oh, she laughs. Did you hear she laughs? We can't have her as president. She laughs. And I'm not even going to explain, but I'm sure you could think, maybe go towards more policy things. But again, stick with the laughs and the childless cat lady attacks, please. Then we'll clean your clock in November politically. But it's getting so bad that Tommy Lauren on Fox News is able to identify. Meghan McCain is saying, you're doing the opposite thing. You're pushing people towards Kamala Harris. And it makes sense, not just because you get defensive whenever there's unfair attacks against someone, but also because I think, not even consciously, but subconsciously, intuitively, people will have this feeling of, if this is what they're attacking her on, she must be a good candidate. Because if there were bad things, they would focus on those, right? So if all they have is she laughs and she danced, in some videos, then she must be a strong candidate. Here's just a funny bonus JD Vance related clip.
And I would bet that just about everyone in that line either knows Senator JD Vance or at least claims to know Senator JD Vance.
Let me ask real quickly. Let me get this. Does anybody in the line know Senator JD Vance? Family, friends? No, not here. Not here. But, this is a big area. We got 52,000 people that live in this.
Oh, what? Oh, so funny. I bet I'd put my car on a bet that every single person in that line knows JD Vance. That's just who JD Vance is. He's a community guy. All right. Oh, okay. Let me ask. Anyone know JD Vance? JD who? No. That's hilarious. And then JD Vance did go on Megyn Kelly and explain it this way.
So Jesus didn't have kids, therefore you are wrong.
True. Wow. Hey, you just got, I can't think of a phrase. You just got owned. Mic drop.
So Jesus didn't have kids, therefore you are wrong. What were you trying to say?
I guess they're comparing Kamala Harris to Jesus. I don't know. That doesn't make a ton of sense to me, Megyn. But look, I know the media wants to attack me and wants me to back down on this, Megyn. But the simple point that I made is that having children, becoming a father, becoming a mother, I really do think it changes your perspective in a pretty profound way. I don't think we should back down from it, Megyn. I think we should be honest about the problem.
Of course it impacts people's perspective, but that's not the point you were making. Anywho, this is not working in the polls either. I keep saying, just hold your horses, okay? Because people are having all these judgments instantly of, oh, let's look at polling right now. Let's just take a second, let it breathe. And we're already seeing exactly what I predicted, which is if things are already within the margin of error, or Kamala Harris is trailing Trump a little bit in the polls, before any advocacy has been done on her behalf, and before she's appeared in any states campaigning, then we're in a good spot. Because Trump isn't going to make up much ground. He about has made the impression he's going to make. Kamala Harris, a lot of people don't really know her. And she has a lot of time. Not that much time, but she has time to introduce herself. And we're already seeing, take a look at this. There's a Michigan poll by Detroit News, as Republicans against Trump is documenting here. In their latest poll, Trump was, so the poll before the one I'm about to mention to you, Trump was leading Biden 47% to 39% in Michigan. 47-39, key swing state. Now Harris is tied with Trump, swinging all the way from 47 to 39, Trump leading, when Biden was in the race, to tied in Michigan, according to this one poll. And we'll look at the zoomed out polling figures as, again, time passes, but that just gives you one anecdote of what I'm talking about. Let me know what you thought of that in the comments. If you want to get extra content daily, you can do so by clicking the join button below. And if you want to contribute, if you are disgusted by the attacks against her and you want to donate to Kamala Harris and contribute to our goal of raising $1 million by 1 million subscribers, you can do so by clicking the link in the description of this video.